Alright, everyone, welcome back to another Wash and Talk here, Automotive Anatomy. Yeah, crazy weather in California, man. Apparently, we're gonna have like a snowstorm in some parts of the state, which is new to us. Obviously, if you're tuning in from other colder parts of the country or the world, you're like, yeah, it's we get those all the time. But for Californians, this is a little different little new. So, hope everybody's safe at the time of this recording and at the time that you're watching this. So, yeah, just want to say a huge thank you for everybody who tunes in. I actually do get a lot of positive feedback when it comes to the Wash and Talks. And I really, really enjoy that because, as you guys know, I'm still going to be mumbling whether you guys tune in or not. It's just more fun when you guys tune in and you guys are part of the conversation. About 1,000 of you guys. And I know that the majority just listens and doesn't really comment. But I know that you guys are tuning in. And that means the world. It's cool. It's no different than somebody wearing or apparel to car meet or just different places. So that's I don't know. It's super humbling. Unless you're doing things like this, you can. That's the only way I can describe it. Once you see somebody rock your brand, or I don't know, just tune in. It's crazy. It's super cool, and it's funny that I utilize this space to be able to talk to you guys and share my stories, because that's all that remains, at the end of the day. I always imagine that, my future generations of my family, and including myself, will look back at these videos and be like, damn, I've aged over, the last 10 years. I've aged over the last 20 years. I really hope that the database stays so that way all these videos can be here, and it's like a journal, a documentary of my life. I don't daily vlog. I don't show you guys most of the stuff that I do, but I think it's cool to still have a little bit of a piece of history of my own life, shared through all these type of different things, whether it's walkthroughs, whether it's interviews, whether it's just wash and talks. I don't know. To me, that's super cool, and the fact that I know that there's a handful of you guys, especially the people that tune into the wash and talks, because to me, you guys are like probably the strongest fan base. And I don't even like the word I guess community. I've never liked the whole word fan or things like that. So community, it's cool because I know that you guys are tuning in, getting some value out of it. I know that you guys don't agree 1,000% with what I have to say or my opinions, and I actually look forward to hearing different points of views. One of them, which I still remember, that Wash and Talk, was how I felt about car show awards and things like that, and a lot of you guys were really respectful, and I really like that to share your point of view as why you guys actually do appreciate awards and recognition. I thought that was really, really cool. So it just opens up the space for me to be able to continue to just express my mind. And I don't know, it's interesting for me to kind of continue to hear what I'm working towards. A lot of you guys sometimes don't comment on YouTube, but then you'll send me a DM and say, hey, I wanted to share this more in private. And I really appreciate those conversations, because it takes a lot of work for you guys to be watching YouTube and all of a sudden log out and then go into Instagram to send me a DM. Like, don't think that I just take that for granted. And yes, you guys, may write a big old paragraph, and I actually do read it, and then I may respond, with a shorter, version of on the response. And I do get like a high number of DMs, at times, and sometimes I don't have any DMs, and I try to respond to every single DM I get. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm just blowing you guys off, like, oh, you took this entire time to write this meaningful message and I just respond with a couple sentences. So just also want to put that out there, that it's tiring at times, but I am trying to respond to all the DMs and comments on YouTube I don't get to all of them, but I definitely spend a good amount of time doing that. And I think that we owe it, anybody who creates any type of videos. Um, this goes to celebrities. This goes to professional athletes. We owe it to the people that are supporting us to um, take the time to respond, take the time to say thank you for anything. You guys are spending your valuable time hanging out with me as I wash my car. The least I can do is say thank you. Or if you guys ever see my Cars and Coffee, say hi and we can have a chat. Um, that's that to me. That's the biggest thing. I laugh because I realize that I do share a lot of stories with you guys, and I don't know what I've shared and what I have not shared. I try to obviously keep the most private, sensitive stuff to myself. But then I share some stories that people remember. One of them is Ralph. I went to the store, and on Instagram I put that I got some cookies and some sweet bread and things like that. And then he responded to my story with like, "What's a cherry pie?" And I was like, "Cherry pie?" I was like, I'm not a cherry pie kind of guy. And so I'm like, what do you mean with cherry pie? And he's like, did you say that in Lancaster you were craving some pie and you couldn't find it? And I started laughing because I was like, oh shoot, this guy remember. I was like, yeah, when I lived in the desert, I wanted a cheesecake, and believe it or not, there was no place where I could just go buy a pie. They had like Mary calendars or whatever, and I was like, it's not the same. And I was just unhappy to be living there, and etc. And so that was like the the little cherry on top. No pun intended. I'm not a big cherry guy, but anyways, yeah, I couldn't find pie, and then my wife had the same experience the next week. So that week so for those that may not know, I was craving cheesecake or some type of pie as we were on our walk, and there was no like little mom and pop places anywhere. So we ended up going to this place called Sweetie Pie Donuts, and I knew it was a donut spot, and but I'm like, what if believe. So we ended up driving like 15 minutes. Still, it's not close by. We get there's a donut place. It's not the nicest looking donut place, and I'm like, hey, do you guys sell any pies or cheesecake? They're like, no, it's only donuts. I was like, shoot. So we ended up driving home, super upset. And this was just added to other stuff that was going on, right? The next week, my wife, she's like, hey, I'm craving some champurrado. For those that may not know, is a hot drink I with dough. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a hot drink. Like, picture hot chocolate. But it's not hot chocolate, right? It's champurrado. It's like very specific. So we went to 3 different locations, Hispanic locations that you would assume that would be there, but they didn't have it. It was really cold. It was really windy. And those 3 locations are not close by. So we must have driven at least 45 minutes just to hit up those 3 locations. We ended up just going home. That was the last straw for my wife. She lost it. She was so upset. She's like, we better get out of here. But yeah, so yeah, it cracks me up that some of you guys remember some of the stories, and I like sharing some of my high school stories, some of my stories that when I was younger, because that's all that we have. They're stories. That makes up who you are. I'm not a big social type of person. I can obviously talk, as you guys can hear me, and I meet other people, but for the most part, I really keep to myself. I like being by myself. I like being a lone wolf, or having that at least aspect. I don't mind driving to a car meet by myself. I that's fine. It looks cool and it feels cool at times when you're driving with your buddies. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm fine. I'll go at my own pace. This weekend, I think we had a scheduled interview for Saturday. Obviously, you're going to be hearing this on Friday, and it's gonna get canceled. That's okay. So I'm already making plans to take one of the cars to go shoot around. I don't know where. I want to get some rainy shots. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'll take you guys with me. And we'll see what we discuss on that vlog. But to me, that's the idea, to be able to you know, share some of my funky stories, and you guys, bring them up. I know I've had conversations with some of you guys at car meets, and you're like, hey man, I really appreciate the wash and talks. And then you guys just start talking about what I was talking about. And it's so surreal for me because I'm like, as you guys are saying it in the back of my head, I'm like, how do you know so much about me, But then I realize I'm the one telling you guys. So, yeah, and it's trippy because, I'm in my room just talking to a camera, but you guys are all over the world, all over the country, and for one reason or another, you guys continue to show support, and so that's the reason why I really appreciate you guys. And so, speaking on stories, I don't know. Today I was thinking just about my elementary days, and so I'm originally from about 20 minutes away from Mexico City. That's where I was born. So half of my childhood was in Mexico and the other half was here, which is honestly the greatest thing that could have happened to me, because when people talk about poverty here in the United States, and they've never experienced or seen anything outside of what poverty in the United States is, I don't blame them, because that's all they know, but I also understand that they don't understand poverty. And the reason why I say that is because even when I was going to school in Mexico City, we lived like in this like out in the, I don't know, rural area, I guess you would say. We're about 25 minutes away from like the nearby city, and we were low income because we were, but compared to other people, we were really good, and that's where I truly saw poverty. Um, to give you guys an idea, to get to school, I am gonna sound like that one typical old person, right? Oh, we walked 3 miles on snow barefoot. No, I mean, it wasn't as bad for that, but um, now looking back, I think we walked about 2 miles and a half, maybe, on the way to school. For some of you that may not be aware, they had morning shift and they had afternoon shift, and we would go to school in the afternoon. So that was from 2 p.m. to 6:30 or something like that, or 1:45 to 6:30. And so my brother and I, we would walk 2 miles, and then we would walk back 2 miles. Dirt most of the road, and then less than half was a little bit of concrete uphill and then downhill the way home. And again, we were the ones that lived the farthest, because to give you guys an idea, from the school on the way home, especially during these times when it would get dark really early, at 6:30, I mean, it was just pitch black, but we were still in school. So we would come out. We didn't have a car, and we would just walk. We would walk to the house, and it would take us about a cool hour and 15 minutes maybe. And so that's why I'm guesstimating that it was about 2 miles and some change. And the reason why I thought about this story was because talking to some coworkers, one of them asked me like, "Hey, do you remember fighting with your brothers for the front seat of the car?" And I was like, "We didn't have a car till I was like 16, so no." It was this awkward silence, like, "Oh shoot." And so I thought it was funny. I was like, "Yeah, we didn't have a car. We walked everywhere." And looking back, I so appreciate that, because kids nowadays won't understand what it is to ride their bikes, to walk somewhere, to take the bus, to none of that. And so when we were in Mexico, we would walk to school, and sometimes my grandma would give us about 50 cents, 50 centavos, to buy candy. You guys got to keep in mind, 50 cents a day. So you're thinking, okay, it's not going to buy you anything? No. It was 1 peso. So to picture 50 cents and 50 cents, that's 1 peso, like a dollar, I guess you would say, to buy one pencil. So hold on. So I kept saying pencil. I don't know why. Un peso. Peso is like, you know, a dime, I think. I don't know how to explain it, but picture like if it was a dollar, but she's giving us 50 cents a day, and a pencil costs $1. Like, there's not much you can do. So we would save it, and we would we would save it, and then I remember I would play like games with my classmates. Um, like I don't remember what kind of games. Like you put the quarter down and then you would hit it, and if you flip it, whatever you flip was yours. And I was pretty good at that, so I would quickly turn those little 50 cents or a couple pesos into 5, 7, 8 pesos. You guys don't understand. Like that's massive money for us. And I would give some to my middle brother, and then I would say, here you can buy a little snack or something. And so we would split it. And in that whole entire situation, I realized that there were people that actually didn't even get 50 cents. um I'll give you as an example. We would my grandma would feed us extremely good, and then she would pack us like a small snack, and then that's it. You won't eat till you get home. And other people that didn't have lunch, and you can tell that they were really skinny. Their skin was extremely dry because they didn't have lotion. Um, some of them were barefoot, and looking back, I mean, I had one pair of shoes, and that pair of shoes was for everything: church, school, and weekends. But they had no shoes, man. And that's when I realized, like, I clearly remember a teacher talking to one of these kids saying, hey, like, you guys don't have any lotion to put on your arms. And I was just looking at them, and they're like, no. Like, I don't know why. That I was in third grade. That still sticks with me. I'm like, damn. um my brother also, one time, he had food, and there was this set of families. There was a young girl and two brothers, and it just always, they were super shy. They would, during recess or whatever, they wouldn't even play with anyone. They would just hang out with their family. They would just hang out with each other. And I remember that time, I guess my grandma did like a torta, for both of us, one each. And I remember that I met up with my brother, um, and hear some extra money because I played during whatever class I should have been studying, but and he's like, cool. And that girl was a classmate of his. They were like a year, 2 years older than we were. And I remember, like, he felt so bad that they weren't eating, and he went and gave her the food. And at first she was like, no, like, that I don't want any. She's like, no, here, take it, because. And then he showed her half money, and I think he made up something along the lines of like, it's ham, I don't like ham, so either that or I'm gonna throw it away. And that's when, like, she took it, and um they ate it. Because I remember, like, he told me about it, and like we saw them from far away, and all three of them were eating. And that was such a good feeling for us, understanding that we were blessed, and so when I think about these different stories about when people want to share how, quote unquote, how bad they had it, everybody's story is unique to themselves, obviously. So not every story is gonna be, more important than other, because we all have our own unique stories, and that's what makes us. But when you really want to talk about poverty and suffrage and challenging times, I think we can all agree that there's definitely there's levels to it, right? And so maybe that's why some of you guys, DM me and say, hey man, you're always positive, you're always, thinking, pushing forward. Or things like, hey man, seems like you're content but never satisfied, like, keep at it. I'm not in the hunt for money, although I do understand it's a tool. I want lots of it, so then I can help other people, or I can retire early, or whatever the case may be. So I'm not allergic to money, but that's not my main point. But at the same time, I also value what I have. I mean, it's funny. We didn't have a car as a family. We didn't have a car till I was 16. We would take the bus everywhere. And in Mexico, my uncles had cars, but we would hardly ever see them. So we took the bus everywhere, public transportation. And now I'm here with three cars. Yeah, they're not brand new cars, but I have three cars. Like, what the heck, man? Like, man, life is great, And so I think back to all those moments where, when my brother and we would, especially on this night, it gets dark really early. School will end at 6:45 p.m. And sometimes the teachers would get mad at us because we were, the classes were just really loud, and they would keep us. It would keep us, like, I don't know, like 30 minutes after the bell had rung, and you would see how everybody left, and that was their way of punishment. You gotta understand, back in early 2000s. I went to school there from 96, 97, 98, something like that. Um, teachers still hit kids with belts and things like that. Like I got hit in front of the class one time because I was disrespectful to somebody or something. I laughed, and a teacher who wasn't even my teacher came in, and she was known to hit people. She's like, "Get up, go in front of the class." I was like, "Okay," and then I knew what was coming, so she's like, "Who has a belt?" And so of course, somebody was like, "I have a belt," so they gave her the belt, and she just smacked me, in front of that whole class. And do you think I went to tell grandma? Hell no. You know what would have happened? Grandma would have smacked my ass too because I was being disrespectful. I grew up in the era where, you respect teachers. And so, yeah, they know that they can get away with that because parents really say, nope, whatever teacher says, it goes. And I believe her. So, we were in that era, and so that was their way of punishing us, stay after school, or they would hit us with the ruler, like these big thick rulers. And so when my brother and I would walk home, everybody knew we were the ones that lived the farthest. And so as we would start walking, you start seeing everybody kind of going to their houses, and we kept walking, and then there was a point where at the end of the concrete, that's where we came to a T. So people would go left or we go right. And the people that would go left, even though they lived closer, those were the people in poverty. Like they live in dirt roads. Their houses were made of very, very cheap material. Like it was bad. And then we obviously, the only bad thing with us is that we just had to walk farther, but we had a nice little house and things like that. But I mean, we just walked home, and walk far, and it was just dirt from that point on. But a lot of cool memories. As I'm just reminiscing, I'll tell you guys a story down the road. I don't want to say it now because it's a more it's a very personal story. I think it would be a disservice to try to sneak it in this last 5 minutes, but I think it would be a cool story. You guys got to remind me to tell you guys that. But for us, it's just an experience to be able to say, yeah, we grew up in a different era, we grew up in a different country, and we get to compare and contrast. When we came here to the States, it was cool as well. I mean, I don't know. There's just so many stuff that, for me now, thinking back, I'm like, damn. Having food at the schools, we were like, in Mexico we had to pay, so we never had money, and so we never bought food because you just don't have that money. And for here to be able to just put a PIN number and get food, and we were so grateful, like, oh my gosh, thanks, like. And some kids throw it away. It's like, well, I don't blame them. They've never been through hunger, and again, I've never been through hunger. So as much as I would love to tell you guys, man, we were so poor. Yeah, we were financially, on the lower end, but I honestly never felt poor. We had a childhood, and I think that's what the fun part about it. We had a childhood because when you don't have all these fancy gadgets, what do? When you go out there and play, you go and use your imagination. So, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to discuss. It all arrived from that question that my coworker was like, do you remember fighting for the front seat with your brothers? And I was like, no. And then it's interesting how far we've come a long way as a family, me individually. It took me forever to save for my first car, that Jackie of ours. And now here I am with two other buckets, and maybe I'm trying to overcompensate for not having cars, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. You guys all want more cars just like I do. Just space and funds is what's keeping us not being able to buy all of them, but it'll happen. Hey, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Definitely appreciate you guys just listening to me, blah, 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 about everything and nothing. So thank you. And you guys take care.